Rock Hudson, born Roy Harold Scherer Jr. in 1925 in Winnetka, Illinois, began life far from the glamour he would later represent. His childhood was shaped by instability, including his father's abandonment during the Great Depression and a later name change after his mother remarried. After serving in the U.S. Navy during World War II, Hudson moved to Los Angeles with little more than determination and movie star looks. He worked odd jobs, including truck driving, while relentlessly pursuing acting opportunities. His life changed when talent agent Henry Wilson signed him in 1948, renamed him Rock Hudson, and reshaped every aspect of his image. Acting lessons, speech coaching, and image polishing followed. Though his early roles were small, his presence was undeniable. Hudson's rise was not just about talent, but about surviving and conforming within a rigid Hollywood system that demanded perfection and silence, stardom, masculinity, and a carefully built image. By the early 1950s, Rock Hudson had become the embodiment of American masculinity on screen. Towering at 6'5", handsome and charismatic, he was cast in films that emphasized strength, romance, and emotional restraint. Performances in Magnificent Obsession, All That Heaven Allows, and Giant elevated him to elite status, earning him an Academy Award nomination and industry-wide admiration. His romantic comedies with Doris Day further cemented his image as a wholesome, heterosexual leading man adored by audiences. Yet this carefully constructed persona came at a personal cost. Hollywood at the time was deeply intolerant of homosexuality, and Hudson understood that honesty could end his career overnight. Every role, interview, and public appearance became part of an elaborate performance. While fans saw confidence and charm, Hudson lived with constant fear, knowing that one rumor could destroy everything he had worked to build. Living closeted in an unforgiving Hollywood era, behind the scenes, Rock Hudson navigated a private life defined by secrecy and restraint. His sexuality was widely rumored within Hollywood, but never publicly acknowledged, protected by unspoken agreements and loyal friends. Actresses like Elizabeth Taylor and Doris Day, along with colleagues such as Julie Andrews and Carol Burnett, were aware of the truth and chose discretion over betrayal. This silence was less about scandal and more about survival in an era where being openly gay meant professional exile. Studio executives and agents worked tirelessly to suppress rumors, sometimes using manipulative tactics to divert attention elsewhere. For Hudson, privacy was not a preference, but a necessity. Relationships had to remain hidden, coded, and emotionally guarded. The pressure to maintain a false identity took a psychological toll, forcing him to divide his life into what could be shown and what had to remain unseen, even among those he trusted most. George Nader and a deep, enduring bond. Among the relationships most often associated with Rock Hudson, his connection with actor George Nader stands out as the most significant. Nader, also a Universal Pictures contract player, shared Hudson's need for discretion and understanding. Their bond extended over decades, marked by companionship, mutual support, and deep trust. Though never publicly acknowledged as romantic, many biographers believe their relationship was emotionally intimate and central to Hudson's private life. When scandal threatened Hudson's career, Nader reportedly became a shield, sacrificing his own prospects to protect the studio's more valuable star. Their loyalty endured long after fame faded, with Nader eventually serving as executor of Hudson's estate. Even as Nader built a long-term life with another partner, his connection to Hudson remained meaningful. Their story reflects the quiet sacrifices and unrecognized devotion that defined many same-sex relationships in Hollywood's golden age. Rumored relationships and shared secrecy. Over the years, Rock Hudson has been linked, often speculatively, to other closeted actors navigating similar pressures. Names like Anthony Perkins and Tab Hunter appear frequently in biographies, not as confirmed romances, but as possible connections shaped by shared circumstances. These men moved in the same social circles, understood the same risks, and lived under the same expectations to appear heterosexual. Any intimacy that may have existed would have been brief, discreet, and overshadowed by fear of exposure. In such an environment, emotional closeness often mattered more than labels. Even unconfirmed rumors reveal something important. Gay actors of that era were rarely isolated, but they were forced to communicate through silence and implication. Whether friendships crossed into romance or not, these relationships provided understanding and solidarity in an industry that demanded denial of their authentic selves. Jim Nabors and the Power of Hollywood. Myths. One of the most persistent stories surrounding Rock Hudson involves entertainer Jim Nabors, though evidence of a romantic relationship remains absent. The rumor, often exaggerated into claims of a secret ceremony, became part of Hollywood folklore rather than documented history. Nabors consistently denied any romantic involvement, later openly acknowledging his own sexuality and marrying his longtime partner years afterward. The endurance of this myth says less about truth and more about how gossip functioned as both entertainment and weapon. For closeted stars, even false rumors carried consequences, shaping public perception and professional opportunities. Hudson himself became a symbol onto which speculation was projected. These stories reflect the invasive curiosity directed at private lives, particularly those suspected of defying norms. In many ways, the mythologizing of Hudson's relationships illustrates how little space there was for nuance, truth, or privacy in celebrity culture. Mark Christian and the Final Chapter of Love. In the early 1980s, Rock Hudson's last known relationship was with Mark Christian, a man outside the inner Hollywood elite. Their relationship unfolded during the early years of the AIDS crisis, a time marked by fear, confusion, and stigma. After Hudson's death, Christian filed a lawsuit that drew intense media attention, alleging emotional and personal harm. While the legal outcome remains controversial, the situation exposed the vulnerabilities faced by gay men during that era. Hudson, by then gravely ill, was still trapped by habits of secrecy shaped decades earlier. Christian later described Hudson as generous yet deeply guarded, someone who longed for normalcy but feared the consequences of honesty. This final relationship brought Hudson's private life into public view in a way he had spent his entire career avoiding, underscoring the tragic cost of enforced silence. Coming forward, and a legacy beyond film. Rock Hudson's decision to publicly acknowledge his AIDS diagnosis shortly before his death in 1985 marked a historic turning point. As the first major Hollywood star to do so, he transformed public understanding of a disease surrounded by fear and misinformation. His announcement forced audiences to confront the reality that AIDS was not distant or abstract, but deeply human. Hudson's passing at age 59 ended a legendary career, but it also sparked compassion, increased research funding, and greater awareness. He requested no public funeral, remaining private even in death, yet his impact resonated worldwide. Today, Hudson is remembered not only for his films, but for the quiet courage it took to live authentically in fragments. His story honors those who loved in secrecy and reminds us of the human cost of intolerance, silence, and fear.